the American people are seeing this hypocrisy play out in a live basis here with what we saw in Maine, what we've seen in Colorado. I'm sure there are going to be other states. We see Democrat tweets and Democrat politicians encouraging Democrat secretaries of state and liberal Supreme Court to do this just to try to create a narrative that the Republicans are a threat to democracy.
James Comer has shifted from going on cable news to discuss his light on evidence case against his political enemy's son to misdirecting about the reason multiple states are attempting to remove his king from their ballots. Republicans have already fully erased America's history of slavery from their brains, so now they're trying to forget what happened only 3 years ago, too.
But there is extremism on some of the left, but definitely on some of the right that has made its way to the top of the speaker's chambers. And it was in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue with Donald Trump. And you said, I don't recall Donald Trump talking like that about people on the other side, about Democrats. Go back and look at a 4th of July speech that he made. He certainly does disparage. It's not just going after Jim Acosta. It's going after people who believe in, quote, leftist ideology, who are part of the Democratic Party. And he does see them as their enemies. And frankly, we turn out in droves to vote against him. We see him as a singular threat to the democracy because he tried to overturn a Democratic election and still continues to propagate the lie that he won.
Apparently, the plan is to close their ears and cover their eyes while telling each other that everything that's being revealed about the former president is a political prosecution. Prosecutions that they have to admit could still end in convictions. So the only option left is to generate more support for a criminal to continue to lead their party.
All right, so what happens if he's indicted at some point?
He can be president from jail if he has to. But I think, to your point, Paul, despite all of the threats, despite all the charges, Republicans are still rallying around Donald Trump. And even if they stoop so low out of fear and desperation because they have no other choice, they have no other nominee other than Biden, they know that he's going to end up being the nominee. They're taking all these actions. Look at the FBI raid in Mar-a-Lago, trying to kick him off the Colorado ballot. You know, these frivolous charges by our district attorney here in New York and in Georgia. But I think it comes down, yes, in 2 weeks, the Iowa caucus, this is going to be the first major electoral event where voters have the opportunity to express their preference for presidential candidate. And if they perform well, that might give them momentum. That might, possibly influence subsequent primaries and might possibly mold the trajectory of their campaign. So let's see what that shows.
Our president can still serve from prison. It's not the flex that they think it is. But as long as they glorify criminal behavior for their political class while complaining about crime anywhere that their voters are told to be afraid of, breaking the law is the American way for the Republican Party. It's a tough line to toe for the rest of the Republican candidates, though, who have to act like that they still support Trump's criminal behavior while also claiming that they should take his spot to carry out the retribution that he's promising. It ends in them declaring for more support for Trump.
Well, Jason, one of the reasons I'm running is because the midterm election showed while Republicans failed throughout most of the country, in Florida, we won the biggest victory in the history of the state for a Republican running for governor. I think that a guy like me as the nominee will be able to keep the focus on Biden, keep the focus on the Democrats' failures, but then more importantly, after you win the election, start holding these people accountable who have weaponized the legal system to go after their political enemies. And that starts with day one, firing somebody like Jack Smith. That goes to dealing with people who are violating constitutional rights at the state and local government area. Republicans have turned a blind eye to abuses of power for far too long. We need to actually do something about it. In Florida, we've actually done things. We've held people accountable and we've drained the swamp in a major way. We need that in the United States.